Everyone thinks MotoGP got better by increasing bikes' raw power and adding smart electronics. They were wrong. The truth is much darker. Every time the rules tried to make racing safer, the bikes actually got more dangerous. Raw power was not the enemy. The men in suits were putting racers' lives at risk. For 70 years, the sport had to keep reinventing itself to stay relevant. And the riders had to fight back and stay alive. This isn't a story about bikes getting faster. It's the story of bureaucracy killing the riders with their stupid rules. Chapter 1. The Monster Years. The 500 cubic centimeter two-stroke era. Here is the first inversion. The 500 cubic centimeter two-stroke machines that dominated Grand Prix racing from the 1970s to 2001 were not terrifying because they had too much power. They were terrifying because that power arrived with absolutely no interruption, no gap, no hesitation, no mercy. A four-stroke engine breathes. It loads and unloads through the rev range. A two-stroke fires every single revolution of the crankshaft. The tire gets no moment to recover grip. It receives a relentless, rhythmic assault, and either holds on or it doesn't. By the final years, peak power had surpassed 200 horsepower in a machine weighing just 130 kilograms. A power-to-weight ratio that would embarrass the most aggressive supercars of any era. But the number was never the point. The delivery was. On a 500, the tire breaks loose at 8,000 revolutions per minute. Before you shut the throttle, it's at 12,000. Mick Doohan, five-time world champion. In the time it takes to register the rear tire has let go, the engine has already spun 4,000 more revolutions. You are not managing a motorcycle. You are negotiating with it, on its terms, not yours. Anybody who could ride a 500 cubic centimeter GP motorcycle well enough to qualify on a Grand Prix grid is a hero. Anybody. Julian Ryder. Wayne Rainey, among the fastest riders in history, was left paralyzed from the chest down at the 1993 Italian Grand Prix at Misano. Not through recklessness, through the cold arithmetic of too much power and zero margin for error. And yet in that savagery, there was a terrible beauty. Doohan with 5 consecutive titles from 1994 to 1998. Kevin Schwantz spectacular and sideways to his 1993 championship. A young Valentino Rossi mastering the Honda NSR 500 as the era's last champion in 2001. Riders who did not wait for confidence to arrive. They manufactured it, lap by lap, until they owned the bike or the bike owned them. I grew up dreaming about 500s. The first race I remember on TV was Assen '86. The 500s were the bikes of the great riders, Schwantz, Doohan, Spencer, Rainey. They were the top. Valentino Rossi. By 2001, the two-stroke era was drawing its last breath. But before we cross into the four-stroke revolution, we need to understand the discovery that revealed the hidden law for the very first time. Chapter 2. The Big Bang Inversion. How Honda accidentally found the law. In 1992, Honda did something counterintuitive. They made their engine less efficient, on purpose. The standard screamer configuration of the era fired all cylinders at perfectly even intervals. Maximum mechanical precision, maximum power density. But the relentless rhythm was destroying traction. The tire had no time to recover between pulses. Honda's Big Bang engine clustered the cylinders to fire in tight groups, leaving a longer gap before the next burst. They were, in effect, introducing interruption into the power delivery. They were forcing the engine to pause. And the tire? The tire responded with grip. Honda did not solve a traction problem by improving the tire or the chassis. They solved it by deliberately making the engine less efficient. The pause, the gap, was the breakthrough, not the power. Within a few seasons, every manufacturer on the grid had adopted grouped firing orders. And the philosophy did not die with the two-strokes. Yamaha applied it to their four-stroke M1 via a cross-plane crankshaft. an inline four with uneven firing intervals that deliberately recreates a Big Bang engine's traction character. Valentino Rossi won 4 MotoGP World Championships on that exact principle. The Big Bang engine was proof of MotoGP's most fundamental and most ignored truth. It is never about how much power you have. It is always entirely about how you interrupt it. We put a lot of time into analyzing every detail for these documentaries. We're incredibly grateful for the community that makes these deep dives possible. If you're enjoying the breakdown, consider supporting the channel directly with a super thanks. Chapter 3. The Four-Stroke Revolution. The New Invisible Savagery. In the spring of 2002, the world believed the sport had been tamed. The new four-stroke machines displaced up to 990 cubic centimeters. They were described as more civilized, more rational, more aligned with the direction of the motorcycle industry. The switch to four-stroke engines in MotoGP was a necessary step forward. Not only did it align the sport with the direction of the motorcycle industry, but it also opened up new opportunities for technological innovation and improved environmental performance. Carmelo Espeleta, CEO of Dorna Sports. By the end of 2002, four-stroke bikes had won every single race. The two-stroke era was effectively over. But here is the second inversion. The four strokes did not tame racing. They created a new, invisible savagery. The savage power of the 500 cubic centimeter era was loud, physical, and honest. The savage power of the four-stroke era was precise, digital, and hidden inside software. Honda's RC211V, a V5 engine at a 75.5-degree angle, displacing 989 cubic centimeters, built with a Big Bang firing order inherited from the NSR 500, produced approximately 220 horsepower at launch. By 2006, in its most advanced form, it generated over 250 horsepower at 17,000 revolutions per minute, reaching 334 kilometers per hour at Mugello. Fly-by-wire throttle arrived. The inertial measurement unit gave the bike's brain a three-dimensional, real-time picture of what the motorcycle was doing at every instant. The engine was no longer a standalone mechanical component. It had become the center of an interconnected nervous system. Yamaha answered with the crossplane M1. In 2004, Valentino Rossi abandoned the dominant Honda and turned the M1 from also-ran to world champion in a single season, one of the most remarkable rider engineering partnerships in the sport's history. The Big Bang philosophy, reborn in a four-stroke cylinder arrangement. The hidden law, working again. Chapter 4. The 800 cubic centimeters paradox. The law strikes back. In 2007, the FIM cut engine displacement to 800 cubic centimeters, explicitly to reduce speeds and improve safety. This is the most perfect example of the hidden law at work. With less displacement, manufacturers extracted power from higher in the rev range. The 800 cubic centimeter machines screamed beyond 18,000 revolutions per minute. Their power curves became steeper and more aggressive. Lighter, more compact engines enabled better mass centralization and lower centers of gravity. Corner speeds actually increased over the 990 cubic centimeters era. The regulation designed to slow the bikes down made them faster through the corners. Every attempt to impose limits on power produced a new, unexpected form of it. When I signed for Ducati, it was very exciting, going to a factory team. But after my first laps on the bike, my thought was, what have I done? I've made a huge mistake. Casey Stoner, 2007 MotoGP World Champion. That bike won 10 races and the World Championship. Stoner mastered what others simply could not, the Desmo Sedici's brutal, explosive corner exit power. In doing so, he broke 3 consecutive decades of Japanese manufacturer dominance, delivering Ducati their first ever Premier Class Riders title. The hidden law, operating perfectly. Control the power, lose control of the consequence, every time. Chapter 5. The digital missile, the 1,000 cubic centimeters era. In 2012, MotoGP returned to 1,000 cubic centimeters. New rules capped bore diameter at 81 millimeters and limited engines to 4 cylinders. Within those parameters, what followed was engineering on a fundamentally different level. Current machines produce over 270 horsepower, weigh 157 kilograms without the rider, and exceed 350 kilometers per hour. The KTM RC16 has clocked 366.1 kilometers per hour at Mugello, faster than a commercial aircraft at takeoff, while being guided through corners at 60-degree lean angles with the rider's knee brushing the asphalt. The defining structural moment came in 2016, the Unified Magneti Marelli ECU. Before it, factory teams employed entire departments of software engineers writing proprietary algorithms representing competitive advantages worth tens of millions of euros. The unified ECU leveled that playing field and immediately created a new arms race. With over 2,000 individual parameters available for calibration, the battlefield shifted from writing the best code to deploying it with the most surgical precision. Inside the engine, invisible revolutions continued. The seamless gearbox became standard, preloading the incoming gear so shifts happen with zero interruption in drive. Several manufacturers adopted pneumatic valve actuation, allowing engines to rev freely beyond 18,000 revolutions per minute. Ducati's Displacement system closed valves mechanically rather than relying on spring pressure, an entirely different engineering philosophy, eliminating valve float at extreme RPM through mechanical certainty rather than the elastic limits of metal springs. The result is a machine no single human fully understands. The engine specialist does not know everything the aerodynamicist knows. A modern MotoGP bike is the sum of 1,000 different specializations. Chapter 6. Wings in the Air, the final inversion. Here is the final inversion of the current era, and it is the most elegant one yet. The engine is no longer the primary frontier of development. The wings are. And this is not a coincidence. It is the logical endpoint of the hidden law. When a 270 horsepower machine accelerates hard out of a corner, the front wheel wants to rise. When it rises, traction control cuts power. Every millisecond of that intervention is lost acceleration. Winglets generate downforce to keep the front wheel grounded, allowing the engine's full power for longer before electronics must intervene. The wings are not a supplement to the engine. The wings are what allow the engine to exist at full force. Physical aerodynamic load has become the new Big Bang gap. The intelligent interruption has moved outside the engine entirely. No team has exploited this more audaciously than Ducati under Gigi Dall'Igna, widely regarded as the most influential engineering mind in modern MotoGP. The GP24, a 1,000 cubic centimeters, 90-degree V4 with desmodromic valve actuation and over 270 horsepower, was so dominant in 2024 that Ducati confirmed the same specification would run unchanged through to the end of the 1,000 cubic centimeter era. Jorge Martin claimed the world championship. Ducati machines accounted for the vast majority of victories across the full grid. The weapon was already complete. Chapter 7. 850 cubic centimeters and the next inversion. From 2027, a new era begins. Displacement drops from 1,000 cubic centimeters to 850 cubic centimeters. Aerodynamic packages will be dramatically simplified. Hole-shot devices, which mechanically lower the bike's ride height to maximize acceleration from launch and corner exits, will be banned entirely. For the first time in Grand Prix history, the formula will run on 100% non-fossil origin synthetic fuels. The direction of the road-going motorcycle world is once again reshaping the highest level of competition, just as the shift to four-strokes did in 2002. The pattern is recognizable now. The sport imposes limits. Engineers find new forms of power within those limits. Control becomes the next weapon, and the next inversion comes from a direction no one predicted. The hidden law does not care about the rulebook. It operates through the rulebook. The 850 cubic centimeter era will produce its own paradox, and the engineers drawing their plans right now already know it. A new battle between power and control is coming. The ones who understand the interruption will beat the ones who only understand the power. They always have. From 1949 to today, from two-stroke monsters to desmodromic missiles, every era asks the same question in a different language. How do you interrupt power intelligently enough to make it usable? The machines changed, the circuits changed, the rulebooks changed. The answer changed every time, but the question never did. Riding a race bike is an art, a thing that you do because you feel something inside. Valentino Rossi. Power without interruption is chaos. Control without power is silence. MotoGP lives in the space between, restless, relentless, impossible to look away from. That space has no finish line,